Hello, my name is Phil Jones from Rotowash, and I'm just going to go through the assembly of the Rotowash machine, and I'll run through the main use of the machine when you've actually set it all up. So once you've purchased the machine, this is how the machine will arrive. Generally speaking, it will just come in with two boxes. You have the base of the machine, a box for the handle. Maybe you've ordered a rotor cart, so that will be in a separate box also, and also there may be a spare set of brushes which will be in a fourth box. So first thing to do is to look at the base of the machine. Just lift the handle in the upright position. You have the handle itself, and you have the ends of the forks which need to sit into the two upright parts of the base of the machine. So just gently slide those into position. You also have catches both here and here, so just turn those until you hear the click, which will hold the handle securely in place. The cable, we have a cable tie, so just form a loop in the cable, push it through the aperture at the base, at the bottom, loop it round here, give it a pull, and that will secure the cable to the handle without any form of damage with the cable entering the machine there. At the back of the machine you have two outlets here, two plugs. The one on the left you push into the socket on the left, the one on the right into the socket onto the right. The loop cable can be tucked into the cable tie here and here, like so. And then the cable itself, just wrap around the four holders. So just wrap it round so it's nice and tidy. Yeah, always get it tangled. This will prevent cable damage on the actual floor. Looking at the front of the machine, we have the loose pipe here, and that just needs to sit into the red tube, and you just need to push it to the very bottom of that tube, and that's it. Very easy, very straightforward. The roto cart, you have the handle and the wheels. Just fit the wheel into the spindle, push it. There's a little catch, just push. Make sure it's nice and home. Same on the other side, just push. And there we go. This side of the machine has a cable coming out to the base of the machine. The wheels will only fit on the opposite side to the cable. So stand on the angle of the machine, hold the top of the rotor cart, the handle, just roll it, tilt it slightly. You may need to put your foot at the back, just tilt it slightly. You can see the two casters underneath the machine here and here, and the bottom bar just needs to sit underneath those two casters. Rest it onto the bottom bar. The gap here needs to sit on the upright. Push it up, and it's in place. Put your foot behind, lift it up, and then wheel it to wherever you want to start your clean. You can use the wheels to go up and down flights of stairs, curbs. If you need to get from one building to another, that's not a problem. When you put the machine down, instead of just letting go of the handle and damage the end of the machine, again, just put your foot on the base of the machine and gently lower to the floor. To remove, pull the cap out, lift the machine slightly, remove the wheels, and down you go. So there's a front and back to the machine. Front of the machine always has Rotowash written in black, so this is where you are all the time, whether you're transporting it or whether you're using the machine for its clean. If you simply want to move it to one side of the room, you don't need the wheels. The wheels are for long distances. So if you just simply want to move it a short distance, you need to put both hands on the handle, lift the handle up, and if you watch this area here, lift the handle up, don't allow the handle to drop back down. So as you bring it back towards you, keep your tension on your arms, keep pulling to the ceiling, and then the base of the machine the brushes will stay off the floor, and then you can quite easily move the machine from one place to another. Bring the machine back up, you'll feel the handle drop down, and that is its parked position without the rotor card fitted. On this side of the machine here you have a block. This metal block prevents the handle from falling down, so if the machine is plugged in, the machine can't drop down. If the machine dropped down, then the machine could start up. So it's just a little safety device that's built in to the base of the machine. So when you want to start the machine, you need to lift this leg over this block. So again, just put your hand on the top, rock the machine. You don't need to lift the machine, just rock the handle over to the right, bring it back, you hear a click, that turns the machine on, turns the machine off. And as you bring the handle back, you'll see the base of the machine lower. In fact, what's happening is the transport wheels that are built in are going up into the machine, so the brushes just float down onto the floor, and then the only thing that's touching the floor are the brushes, and the weight of the machine is pushing the brushes deep into the floor surface. When you want to stop the machine, lift the handle up, you can see the machine coming off, the brushes coming off the floor, that stops the machine and it's in the park position. So just looking around the machine, you have the curved handle, that's for the operator to manoeuvre the machine. You have a paddle. That paddle, when you press, that releases the water. The water goes into the tank, so you lift the lid from the tank. In here you have a filter, so that will prevent any foreign bodies going into the machine. So water goes in straight into the top there. This tank will hold 7 litres of water. 7 litre water is quite a lot for a Rotowash machine and can cover a tremendously large area. So I would suggest just fill the tank up to about halfway, which is going to be about 3.5 litres, something like that, and that will be sufficient for the chore that you have in hand. If you're using chemicals via the machine, that's not a problem. The important thing with chemicals that it has to be neutral on the pH scale. So have a look at the back of the can, make sure it's around the 7, the sort of 6, 7, 8-ish on the pH scale, and make sure it's low foaming. If it's a high foaming chemical, then you are going to get issues with bubbles going into the back of the machine. Chemical goes into here, look on the back of your can, see what the dilution rate that they recommend, and that should be okay. As a general rule, if we're looking at about half a tank, 3 to 4 litres of water, we're perhaps looking at maybe a cap, 2 caps maximum, something like that. The machine works exceptionally well with plain water. So, but in certain environments, maybe a deodorizer will help, particularly with care home carpets and things like that. Other things on the handle, so you've got a paddle, you have this red switch here, this is a trip switch, emergency stop button I should say. So if for example you're using the machine, the brushes are rotating, you're cleaning the floor, you accidentally go over the cable, that kills the machine dead. So that stops the machine. That is not an on-off button, it's simply an emergency button if you have to stop the machine in an emergency. You bring the handle into the upright position, you reset, you rock the handle over to the right, bring it back, that will start the machine back up again. So you're working away, cable, or there's a cloth, or you run over something on the floor, immediately stop the machine, lift it up, remove any blockage that you have. So if you have gone over the cable, remove the cable, unplug, remove the cable, check the cable, make sure you haven't done any damage to the cable. If everything's okay and you're happy, reset, and away you go. The issue of it being an on-off button, as I said, it isn't an on-off button, simply because if you are in this position here, and you turn the machine off, you have a chat with your colleague, and you turn the machine back on, the brushes will immediately fire up at 650 times a minute, which will be too much, particularly if you have quite a bit of friction on the floor, such as a carpet. That will more than likely strip a gear and damage the machine. So always bring the machine into the upright position and then reset. But as I said, that is not on off, that is just simply an emergency button. This side of the machine we have a height control knob. As you can see on the dial, you have a series of weights. So the largest weight is the heavy weight, so that's maximum pressure. So that's going to force the brushes deep into the carpet setting. Lightest setting is this one here. So depending on the floor setting, if it's for example a hard floor clean, then maximum setting. If it's an industrial type of carpet, that is probably still the right setting. Or if you feel that there's a certain amount of depth to the pile, just lift the brushes slightly so there's not so much friction, and maybe set it halfway. If you feel that's not right when you're using the machine, lift the brushes slightly a little bit more. So that's the height control knob. This button here, it's called an OPC switch, and again it's another safety device that's built in to the machine. So the scenario is you're using the machine, you're working quite happily, something happens, you drop the handle of the machine, then once it goes down below a certain amount, that fires out and it just kills the machine dead. So it's a safety device just in case you accidentally drop the handle of the machine. Reset, just pull it up and that will reset the machine. So those are the overall mechanics to the machine. You do your clean, whether it be in a care home, a leisure centre, a school, a hospital, wherever you may well be using the machine. At the end of the day, you need to take the machine back to base and make sure it's ready for the following day. Similarly, if you're mopping the floor with a mop and bucket, once you've finished mopping that floor, you would then take that dirty mop bucket back to the cleaning cupboard, you'd empty, you'd swill it out, you'd rinse your mop, you'd clean your mop, you'd hang it up, ready to dry, ready for the next person to use that mop and bucket. You wouldn't leave the dirty mop in the dirty water overnight or for a couple of days for the next person to do that, and it's exactly the same with cleaning equipment. All cleaning equipment has to be cleaned down, and it's very important that it is cleaned down for the longevity of the machine and also for infection control properties, and we are living in a world of infection control at the moment, so it's exceptionally important to make sure that you sanitise the machine down and clean the machine well after use. So to clean the machine down, start at the back of the machine. Here you have your dirty water tank. So clean water goes into the tank, you press the paddle, the water goes down the tube onto the front brush puts the water down onto the floor, you clean the floor. All the dirty water is retrieved in the dirty water tray at the back. You take the tray out, you empty, you lift the lid, you rinse it out, the inside, you clean the underside. There'll always be dirt and fluff on the underside. There's a caution relates to the blade. So just be wary of the blade, it is very, very sharp. So if you start cleaning like this, you will do damage. So a cloth, clean that way, never across the blade. Rinse it underneath the tap, put it to one side. On the blue drum here, there will always be a line of dirt, and during your clean as well, you may periodically have to wipe the dirt from the actual blue drum, as the brushes, if you're doing a carpet clean, will not clean just the top, it will clean the base of the carpet where all the debris is, all the fluff or the hair and dead skin and so forth is found in the base of the carpet. The bristles are long enough to get into the base of the carpet and extract. So just roll the brush back, and what you'll find is that you'll have a line of dirt there, just roll it back, the blue drum rolls down and you'll be able to clean quite easily. And put any dirt into your dirty water tray there. You have a hole here and a hole here. Just push and pull. That releases the spindle. Take the brush out. Allow the brush to go underneath your tap. hot water here, rotate until clean water comes out, rotate until clean water comes out, and then put the brushes maybe in a bucket to dry off. Where the machine will get dirty is here, here, here and here. So again, a microfiber cloth or a cloth, just wipe wherever you see any dirt and take it off. When you do it straight away after you're clean, that's how long it will take. If you leave it until tomorrow, all the dirt on the side of the machine will have dried very, very hard and crusty, and then it's not just a quick wipe, it's probably a green scouring pad trying to chip the dirt off. So do it whilst it's still wet and save yourself time. Front of the machine, you have the tray at the front. Just take the tube out, lift the front tray, turn it upside down, wipe the underside, particularly these areas here where you have the small holes. This is where the water drips through. So if those holes are blocked, you're not going to get a good flow of water coming from that tray. If you find that there are some dark holes, then maybe there's some debris inside the trough itself, and your maintenance man will be able to unscrew these 4 self-tapping screws, which will release the trough, and you'll be able to clean that out and refit the screws. So just swivel that out. Again, brushes, push and pull, brush comes out, take brush out, hot water, rotate, clean water comes out, rotate, clean water comes out. Into your bucket, just so. Wipe, 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 wipe. Wherever there's any dirt, you just wipe that clear. And that's how the machine should be kept until the next person uses the machine. When the next person uses the machine, if the brushes are still in, then they know that the machine wasn't cleaned down and they've got some work to do, and speak to the last person who used the machine. If the brushes are where they are supposed to be, then it's just a question of putting the brushes back in. They can see that the machine is nice and clean. If you're worried about where you've been, for example, if you operate in the care home scenario and you've just cleaned that room, which maybe the resident is suffering from incontinence, then after cleaning, maybe it might be necessary to spray the machine with a sanitizer just to help sanitize the machine. It will also deaden any odours that are coming from the machine. Don't forget your PPE. Make sure that you're wearing gloves and so on when you're actually dealing with the actual cleaning down of the machine itself. So to put the brushes back in, doesn't matter whether it's a front brush or a back brush, they can go in either way. You can go that way, that way. In fact, by rotating, it is good. You will get a nice even wear on the brush. One side of the machine is slightly heavier than the other, so if the brushes are put in exactly the same way every time, you will end up having a cone-shaped brush. So by rotating the brush, it's good. So on the inside of the machine, you will see that there are brush guides here and here. So the brush simply goes underneath the bar and sits on the brush guide. The spindle goes in this side of the machine, the side that you have the cable and the high controller here. If you try to put the spindle in the other side, you will do it, but it will take you quite some time and it will be frustrating. So always go for the easy side, which is the side you have the cable and the knob. The bar itself is hexagonal shape. The hole is hexagonal shape. The brush hole is hexagonal shape. The hole at the other side is hexagonal shape. So when you apply the brush, just twist and push at the same time and allow the shape of the bar to find the correct way in. So pop it in. Let me just do that face of the machine. Push it as far as you can go. When it gets to that side, rotate the brush, push at the same time, and that will allow it to go in. Back of the machine, brush goes in situ onto the brush guides, like so. Cable side, rotate and push. Rotate and push. Make sure the spindle is nice and even. Dirty water tray, the blade goes underneath the springs, like so. Clean water tray, you have slots here and pegs on the side of the machine. Just sits into situ. And then the tube, as I said earlier, as far down as possible. So we're just going to put a little bit of water into the machine. Just 1 minute. So as I said earlier, I would suggest about 3 or 4 litres, something like that. I'm just going to put in a carafe of water just for the exercise. Like so. 2 top pegs, quick release. Plug it in. Before you plug it in, just check. It's a brand new machine, but just check that the cable is good and sound. Make sure there's no kinks or little cuts in the machine where a previous user has gone over the cable. Everything seems fine. Pop it in. Turn it on. Lift the handle up, bring it back. Choose your side where you want to actually clean. Bring it up into the upright position. We'll put the lid back on. Cable is in your left hand. That means by holding the cable, you're in control of the cable. If you have the cable over your shoulder or over this way, then you're no longer in control of the cable and you're not allowed to do that any longer. If, for example, you slip or something happens and the machine doesn't stop, then that is in danger of doing something nasty to your neck. So hold the cable in your one hand on the top, roll it over to your right, bring it back. Let's just set it over to your right and bring it back. The machine fires up. Push the handle to. Paddle, that releases the water. So when I press the paddle, you'll see the water going through the transparent tube. If I bring the machine back, there's just a little bit of water on the floor surface there. So, hard floor cleaning, over to your right, bring it back, press the trigger and release. Press the paddle, release. Press the paddle, release. And then bring the machine back over exactly the same area. So the action there is, as you go forward, you pulsate on the paddle, you're not putting too much water down. Go forward at a nice even pace and then return over exactly the same area. Going forward, he's going to put the water down and he's going to scrub. Coming back, he's going to scrub and he's going to pick the water up. If you press the paddle all the time as you go forward, then you'll probably find that your floor will begin to flood. There'll be too much water going down. You only need a very, very small amount of water with a Rotowash machine. Over to your right, bring it back, press, and back. New area. A good method of using chemicals with a Rotowash machine is, as we mentioned earlier, if you're putting chemicals through the machine, that's one way of doing it, but very small quantities. The issue with chemicals is that when it's left on the floor, it can leave a sticky residue, and the dirt is very often attracted to those sticky residues. So it's always recommended, particularly by the flooring manufacturers, to remove that chemical residue after applying it. So when you're mopping a floor, for example, you would mop with a chemical, and then immediately afterwards you would mop with fresh water to remove that chemical, to remove those sticky residues. In reality, no one would do that. They would just chemical mop. As a result, the floor gets dirtier and dirtier the more you mop. So by using chemicals through the machine, you will possibly leave some sticky residues on the floor. So one way of doing it is one day you would use a bit of chemical, next day you use water. Next day a bit of chemical, next day water. or use a spray bottle. Pre-spray the floor and then water in the machine. That will give you the best results. So if you can imagine that now we've got into an area with carpet. So this is a carpeted area. The only difference between hard floor cleaning and carpet cleaning is the amount of water that you put down. So for a carpeted floor, you need maximum water. So as you go forward, over to your right, you press the paddle all the time as you go forward, release, and bring it back. So carpet will need more water simply because the fibres of the carpet are going to suck up a certain amount of water. So always as you go forward, press the paddle. Always as you come back, you stop pressing the paddle, and that will again retrieve the dirty water from the actual carpet. So the principle with all Rotowash machines is that as you go forward, you're putting clean water onto the floor surface, and then as you come back, it's picking up the dirty water. So you're not mixing the dirty water with the clean water. So that's the reason why you're going to get good results with this machine. If you're cleaning a carpeted area and you have a particular stain on the carpet that the machine's struggling with, then it just generally means that it needs a little bit of extra water. And one method of doing that is just by removing the clear tube, pressing the paddle, allowing the water to go onto the stain. By the time you put the tube back in, come back to the back of the machine, then that water has softened up the crust of that stain. And then make sure that both brushes go over that stain. So you go forward, sideways, and that is going to remove the majority of stains. It's going to remove coffee stains, tea stains, lactulose, other forms of medication, general things that you would see in a business environment, whether it be care home, whether it's body fats in a leisure centre, and so on. And that should remove those stains. If it doesn't remove those stains, then generally speaking, it's no longer a stain, it's a damaged carpet. Other things that you can do with the machine when you're looking at edges, over to your right, bring it back, up to your edge, push in, and that will do your edges quite easily. If you feel that you've left a little bit of water on the floor, just go over dry. Don't press the paddle, just go over dry, and that's going to remove the water quite easily. And that's about it really. So I hope you've enjoyed this particular session. So on to the next one. Thank you.